A regular meeting of the City Council is held in person on Thursday, June 13th, 2024 at 7:06 p.m. for the purpose of transacting any and all business. Notice this meeting was posted on June 11th, 2024 at 6:45 p.m. This meeting is being recorded and is live on SATV and Zoom unless technological issues interrupt the transmission. Councilors absent, Councilor Watson-Felt. Councilor Varela moves to dispense with the reading of the record of the previous meeting. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. President Hapworth requested that everyone please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilor Prosnewski.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, a nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
The Salem City Council honors that this land is Namkeg, or fishing place where generations of Namkeg people from the Pawtucket Band of the Massachusetts tribe lived and passed through for centuries. We acknowledge this is unceded indigenous land and also acknowledge the Massachusetts tribe who continue to honor and hold this land into the present. Salem City Council is committed to having ongoing meaningful dialogue with indigenous peoples who have presence in Salem in order to dismantle legacies of oppression and inequities that persist today. Public testimony. Public testimony is not to exceed 15 minutes. Public testimony is not a public hearing or question and answer period. Sign-up must occur 30 minutes prior to the meeting. The president shall, depending on the number of speakers, set a time limit not to exceed 3 minutes, for which each speaker must abide. So we have 7 folks signed up today, so each will get 2 minutes and 8 seconds. We will start with Alan Hoffman.
Thank you very much. 2 minutes and 8 seconds is my introduction usually. I'm Alan Hoffman. I live at 23 Valiant Way in the village of Salem. Andy Villela is our counselor. He is also the proprietor of Maitland Farms. Unfortunately for us, Mr. Villela has recently decided to have a group of roosters which wake up at 4:45 in the morning, which is about 2 hours before I tend to wake up. We have attempted civilly to talk to Mr. Villela about the roosters, subject to Mass Law C-40A, Section 3. He continues to say that he is exempt. We have embarked with and had dialogue with Beth Renard, who has agreed with us that Mr. Villela and Maitland Farm is in violation of that law. Mr. Villela has said repeatedly that he has gotten rid of the roosters, which according to my calculation is not true, as I heard it this afternoon. What we are asking as neighbors, we are not against the farm, we are not against Mr. Villela. We would just like to be good neighbors, have a peace, and a simple dialogue. Being woken up at 4:45 in the morning, despite what Mr. Villela says is not that early, is unacceptable. We wish to bring this matter forward so the public will fully understand that our council person for Ward 7 is abdicating his responsibility, as we see it, to the neighbors of the village. Thank you. And we have additional speakers speaking.
Elaine Slater.
Hello. I'm Elaine Slater, and I have lived in 24 Valiant Way for the past 22 years. My condo comprises 22 families on the side that abuts Mr. Varela's land. And so that is about 50 to 52 residents, give or take. It is a mixed community, so it is not a community of the elderly, but we have babies, we have school children, we have college kids, we have adults of all different ages. We are a group of people who have lived peaceably and take pride in our land and help each other out as a village might do. Unfortunately, Mr. Varela has, again, as Mr. Hoffman has said, has really violated what would be not just a good neighbor, but is in violation of the law. And that's Rule 12 under urban farms. No roosters are to be kept in Salem. That's only a piece of it, though, and we've all felt it, we've all heard it, we hear it every day. The other piece that I would like to discuss is for the last number of years that he's lived there, what has happened is debris. And that is also right in the law about farms. So I just want to read this. I want it to be just clear cut. And that says on 12. Give me a minute. Okay. Here it is. All right. So, under yard farms, Part C, land devoted to the yard farm shall be well-maintained and free from debris, noxious odor, and excessively tall weeds and grass. We have debris all the time. He's been moving it around lately from one place to another, everything from a car to all kinds of rusted equipment, and a huge wood chip pile that smokes.
Thank you, Elaine. Up next is Ina Hoffman.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Ina Hoffman, and I will not take up much of your time, but I would like to make the City Council aware of the situation that's happening in our neighborhood. My husband, Alan, and I have lived at the village for 10 years and enjoy our neighborhood and living in the city of Salem. I am a North Shore resident for over 70 years. Our condo abuts the Maitland farm. I want to make it clear that I am not opposed to the farm. However, I am opposed to the recent situation with the noise. Mr. Varela is aware of it. I am here to ask how best a city councilor representing the people who elect him. The issue is noise and being woken up at 4:30 a.m. Whether it's roosters or hens, this is a noise issue impacting our neighborhood. Our goal is to be good neighbors and respect each other's quality of life. Right now, it is impacting many of our residents and myself on mental health. I am asking for your assistance in this matter so we can all be good neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, Ina. Carlos Barnaca.
Hello. Hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak here in front of the City Council. My name is Carlos. I'm the owner of Bella Verona. I think all of you, or most of you, remember me from last year. And this is in reference to the patio and our outside dining, which I believe you guys will be voting on today. I'm not exactly sure. There was a little bit of a mix-up, but in any ways, I'd like to speak in regards to this. I'd like to thank for those who were here last year. Your yeses on the outside patio have really helped us and changed what Bella Verona is today. Your yes has not only changed my life, but the lives of the people who work at the restaurant, and I'd like to say thank you in front of all of you. And I'd like to continue what we built. It's been a rough 4 years, and I could see that the patio that Salem proposed patio program has helped not only me but many other establishments, and I'm here to hope that all of you can help us continue this. We're looking to make the patio a better, safer environment. I know there have been a couple, I would like to say, comments and things about our patio, and I'd like to work with the city to make it a lot more better, a lot more safer. Our recent expansion to the restaurant, we've been able to include a ramp, include a handicap bathroom, to be able to be up to code with all the safety regulations, ADA regulations, and I really hope that the City Council gives us the opportunity to continue having the outside patio, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Carlos. And the last one in person is Abigail Savo. Who's not here. Okay, we will move on to Zoom. Madam City Clerk, are you able to do Zoom from where you're at? Okay. First on Zoom is D. Hoxa. D, if you are present, please raise your hand and we will allow you to speak.
Hello?
You should be able to speak now.
Oh, yes. Oh, hi. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah.
My name is Dea, and I work full-time at Bella Verona Restaurant. I'm sorry,
We
can you
can hear
hear
you
me?
now. Could you start over?
I'm sorry?
We can hear you now, so if you want to restart.
Oh, yeah, of course. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dea, and I work full-time at Bella Verona Restaurant. I want to say that I started working here in October, and I've been very fortunate to see how much our customers love and appreciate the outdoor patio. I feel like the patio has become a cherished space, significantly contributing to the growth of our business. And as somebody who relies on this job for my livelihood, I can attest to the importance of this outdoor space. I feel like it provides vital opportunities for our team to thrive, and I'm very passionate about Bella Verona. The food, the environment, my colleagues, and our customers that all create a vibrant, welcoming atmosphere. I believe that everyone here shares my dedication to the restaurant and our community. The patio is a key key part to our success, and we hope to continue offering this valued amenity to our customers. I urge you to support our request to maintain and enhance our outdoor patio, as it benefits not only our business but also the Salem community. Thank you.
Thank you, Dee. Up next is Christine and Jemmy. Christine, if you are in Zoom, please raise your hand and we'll allow you to speak. Christine, you should be able to speak now. Christine, you are unmuted right now if you want to try to speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you for doing that. All right. Well, good evening, members of City Council. My name is Christine and Jemmy. I've had the privilege of working at Bella Verona Restaurant for the past 15 years. Over the most recent years, I've witnessed the incredible growth and success of our restaurant, and the growth that's been stimulated from having outdoor seating, not only from a business perspective, but importantly with how many more people we're able to employ throughout the 6 months we use it. We currently have employed all full-time college, high school students, and I'm a graduate of Salem State. And I believe we have 3 or more full-time college students waiting to come back, but we don't have the patio to give them hours. During the summer months, our outdoor patio space has become a cherished part of Bella Verona. The space not only enhances the dining experience for our guests, but also plays a vital role in attracting more customers, and even a more vital role for the employees to make a living, pay tuition, and all of the living expenses. For me, Bella Verona is more than just a place of work. It's my primary source of income and a place I deeply care about. And I've worked here for as long as I have because of the relationships we've made with our customers. And they'd be very disheartened to not be able to enjoy this space. It would absolutely be devastating for our business, customers, and staff to not have any outdoor seating at all. We won't be able to compete with the surrounding restaurants who offer it. I kindly ask for your support in allowing us to keep and enhance our outdoor space during the summer and fall. Your decision will have a significant impact on our business and the many people who rely on it. Thank you for your time and consideration, esteemed council members.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
That concludes public testimony. Hearings, none. Appointments and reappointments.
We have held from the last meeting the mayor's reappointment of Janelle Roberts and Deborah Amaral to the Park and Rec Commission.
Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Councilor Varela moves for confirmation by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Just want to thank both of these applicants for their continued work. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the appointment of John L. Roberts and Deborah Amaral to the Park and Rec Commission, the reappointment of John L. Roberts and Deborah Amaral to the Park and Rec Commission. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Cohen?
Yes.
Counselor Davis?
Yes.
Counselor Harvey?
Yes.
Counselor Jerslow?
Yes.
Counselor Merkel? Yes. Counselor Marcillo? Yes. Counselor Prosnewski?
Yes.
Counselor Stott?
Yes.
Counselor Varela?
Yes.
And Counselor Hapworth?
Yes. Thank you. On the mayor's reappointment of John L. Roberts and Deborah Amaral to the Park and Rec Commission, we have 10 councilors voting, 10 in favor, none opposed, and 1 absent. The matter carries. Further appointments and reappointments.
We have the mayor's appointment of Lucia Del Negro to the Conservation Commission.
Councilor Gerslow.
Thank you, Chair. I move for suspension of the rules, and that would be Rule 27 and 27A.
Councilor Gerslow moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Gerslow.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Now, I move for appointment
Councilor
by roll call vote.
Gerslow moves for a confirmation by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Negro could not be here tonight. She has been interested in serving on the Conservation Commission for a while. Her schedule didn't coincide with the meetings, but has since changed. Ms. Del Negro has worked at the City of Peabody since 2006 with the Conservation Commission and their conservation agent since 2008. Ms. Del Negro lives on English Street and is very active as a volunteer for the Salem Arts Association here in Salem. I thank her for stepping up and volunteering for the position of the Conservation Commission.
Any further discussion? Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, Chair Hapworth. I had a really great conversation with Ms. Del Negro. She's actually the conservation agent in Peabody, which is terrific. So she really understands all the rules. I know I had actually suggested that she come on the 27th, but I think we really need people on the commission now because of the state law that limits how many people can be on the commission. They are at danger of having no quorum, and if they don't have a quorum, it initiates a peer review, which can cost the city a lot of money. So I think she's going to be terrific. She takes her job in Peabody seriously, and one of the things that she stressed to me is she's not really interested in politics. She's interested in doing the task before. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. On the mayor's appointment of Lucia Del Negro to the Conservation Commission, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Cohen?
Yes.
Councilor Davis?
Yes.
Councilor Harvey?
Yes.
Councilor Gerslow?
Yes.
Councilor Merkel?
Yes.
Councilor Marcillo?
Yes.
Councilor Prosnowski?
Yes.
Councilor Stott?
Yes.
Councilor Varela?
Yes.
And Councilor Hapworth?
Yes. Thank you. On the mayor's reappointment of appointment of Lucia Del Negro to the Conservation Commission, we have 10 councilors voting, 10 in favor, none opposed, and 1 absent. The matter carries. Further appointments and reappointments.
We have the mayor's reappointment of Constance Sorensen to serve as a constable with the City of Salem.
Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move that this be received and filed.
Councilor Varela moves this be received and filed. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further appointments and reappointments.
We have the mayor's reappointment of Christina Marie Sorensen to serve as a constable with the City of Salem.
Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move that this be received and filed.
Councilor Varela moves this be received and filed. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move to go out of order to page 42 for the CPA funds.
Apologies, Madam City Clerk, forgot to tell you on that one. Councilor Merkel moves to go out of order, to suspend the rules to go out of order to page 42. Seeing no objection, so I'll go to 42. It's going to take me a minute to get there.
Ordered that $1,098,000 is hereby appointed to CPA funds for fiscal year 2025 to the accounts listed below in accordance with the recommendations of the Community Preservation Committee, which is the CPC.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Any discussion?
No discussion.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. On Councilor Merkel's motion for adoption of the CPC, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Councilor Merkel? Go back. Councilor Merkel moves to go back into order to page, was it page 4?
Yes, we have another CPA.
I'm sorry, we have another CPA.
Yeah, we have another one. Thanks.
My mistake.
Ordered that $1,335,000 is hereby adopted within the CPA funds for fiscal year 2025 projected listed below in accordance with the recommendation of the Community Preservation Committee, the CPC.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Any discussion?
No discussion.
Any further discussion? Councilor Morcello.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is on the actual items in the CPC, correct? Am I following this correctly? Okay. Yeah? Okay. So I just want to say I have no problem with the items under vote tonight. I just wish that there were more housing projects. It's a very small portion of the CPC funds this year being spent on affordable housing, and that's kind of, I know they didn't get the applications. I'm just hoping that in the future we get more applications in that area. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries.
Thank you. I motion that we go back to the original order where we were on page 6.
Councilor Merkel moves to go back to page 6. Seeing no objection, let's see.
Ordered that the sum of $21,984.40 be approved within the Retirement Stabilization Fund Vacation Sick Leave Buyback account to be expanded for the accrual buyback listed below in accordance to recommendations of His Honor the Mayor.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves to suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
These are contractual buybacks, and we thank Karen Reedon for her service to the Salem School Department.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption, the sum of $21,984.40 be approved in the Retirement Stabilization Fund Sick Leave Buyback account. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
The order of the sum of $20,000 is hereby appropriated within the capital outlay account to cover the purchase costs and modifications of a used reserve fire pump in accordance with the recommendation of His Honor the Mayor.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. The fire department's engine number 4 experienced a catastrophic failure and permanent removal from service. And with their spare pump operating in its place, the department has a spare pump available in the event of another breakdown for emergencies. And the new one is on order, but delivery is scheduled for October 25th. And this is also a reasonable price. I always appreciate Chief Dion's diligence in trying to find good prices and equipment there. And I'd also like to motion to suspend the rules since Chief Dion is here tonight to tell us about this.
Councilor Merkel moves to suspend the rules. Seeing no objection.
And correct anything I got wrong.
Until October 2025, to be clear. We were able to locate an apparatus. I've been searching high and low for over 3 months. We did find one here in the state of Massachusetts. I limited myself to New England region unless there was a really good deal out there. And the purpose of that is so we go down there and inspect it before we put our efforts into it. The vehicle we have is going to be an excellent replacement. We do have to do some upgrades and repairs, but I anticipate that it'll be available for service within 3 to 4 weeks. And it should carry us through, barring any other catastrophes, well into the time when our new pump will be delivered. As a matter of fact, I believe the pump we're buying is better than the one we presently have in service as engine 4. So I'm encouraged to think that the worst will be behind us on this, and thanks to your support, hopefully it will be. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Any further questions for the chief while he's up there? Seeing none. Any further discussion? Seeing none. On the motion that the sum of $20,000 be hereby appropriated within the capital outlay account to cover the purchase costs, modifications of a new fire pump. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
That the sum of $9,900.00 is hereby appropriated from the fund balance reserved for appropriation free cash account to the accounts listed below for the purpose of conducting an external audit of the police department's evidence holding in accordance with recommendations from His Honor the Mayor.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for adoption. Oh, sorry. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. The Salem Police Department is required to conduct spot audits of their evidence holdings as part of their accreditation process. And they currently have the evidence custodian retired, and with the transfer to a new evidence custodian, this is necessary for them to conduct. And there is more information in the backup documentation. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion, the sum of $9,900.00 is hereby appropriated to the fund balance reserved for appropriation free cash account for the purpose of conducting an external audit. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications to the mayor.
Ordered per Master General Law, Chapter 44, Section 54, which allows for municipality to pay prior fiscal year's invoices using current fiscal year's appropriations by 2/3 vote of the City Council. It's requested that the sum of $4,591.78 of outstanding fiscal year 2023 invoices is hereby to be paid with fiscal year 2024 Police Department budget, as listed below in accordance with recommendations from His Honor the Mayor.
Continuing with the Council Merkel show, Council Merkel.
Thank you. I move for suspension of the rules.
Council Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Council Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption by roll call vote, and FYI, 2/3 is needed here.
Council Merkel moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you. This appropriation is necessary to cover the cost of a fiscal year 2023 invoice. The invoice was actually dated April 12th, 2023. It's an invoice from ServPro, who performed emergency flood repairs that occurred as a result of flooding. And the emergency repairs were approved by the captain in charge, and also the captain in charge of facilities and a former building department employee. And I never like seeing invoices that are dissolved and unpaid, but there was an oversight regarding the purchase order since it was called for emergency service, and ServPro is entitled to the payment. So here we are.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion, the sum of $4,591 be appropriated to pay FY23 invoices. All those in favor? Any opposed? I'm sorry. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Cohen?
Yes.
Counselor Davis?
Yes.
Counselor Harvey?
Yes.
Counselor Jerslow?
Yes.
Counselor Merkel?
Yes.
Counselor Morcillo?
Yes.
Counselor Prosnewski?
Yes.
Counselor Stott?
Yes.
Counselor Varela?
Yes.
Counselor Hapworth?
Yes. On the motion to pay prior fiscal year's invoices with current fiscal year appropriation, $4,591.78 for the Salem Police Department building maintenance. We have 10 councilors voting, 10 in favor, none opposed, 1 absent. The matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
That the sum of $500.00 be approved within the Retirement Stabilization Fund Vacation Sick Leave Buyback account to be for contractual buybacks listed below for accordance to recommendations by His Honor the Mayor.
Council Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for suspension of the rules.
Council Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Council Merkel.
Thank you. President Hapworth, I move for adoption.
Council Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. This is a contractual obligation. This is part of our collective bargaining agreements with the Salem Teachers Union. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion that $500 be approved within the Retirement Stabilization Fund Vacation Sick Leave Buyback account to be expended to the contractual buybacks listed below. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
to accept a donation from St. Jean's Credit Union in the amount of $1,500 towards the sponsorship of a luncheon for the 2024 Friends of the Park and Recreation fundraising golf tournament for the Park and Rec Department.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. President Hepworth, I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. And thank you to St. Jean's Credit Union for their donation, and we wish them luck with the golf tournament.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion to accept the donation from St. Jean's for the amount of $1,500, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
This is to accept a donation from Glenn and Dale Yale in the amount of $1,217 to the Park and Recreations Department. This fund is a donation in accordance to recommendation by His Honor the Mayor.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hepworth. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. And I also want to say thank you to Glenn and Dale Yale for their donation of a bench.
Any further discussion? On the motion to accept the donation from Glenn and Dale Yale in the amount of $1,217, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor. You can just read the general, what it is. You don't have to read the whole thing.
We have a resolution for a tax increment exemption agreement to apply for a housing development incentive program, an HDIP, through the state and provide for an exemption on property taxes and for the Canal Street LLP.
Perfect. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move to refer this to the Committee of Administration and Finance, and I also request that it be co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Merkel moves to refer to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. Under discussion.
Thank you. For this and the next proposed tax increment exemption agreement, we will have a full presentation from our senior planner, and the developers and the peer review consultant will be here to answer our questions. And I look forward to that process.
Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, Chair Hapworth. A couple of things. I've said this before. I think this is the most transformative private development in the history of Salem. It is 250 rental units. We're deficient in rental units, 20% affordable, which is twice the city's mandate to the inclusionary zoning. The development resides in Rosie's Pond, and they are restoring wetlands. It's very sustainable and resilient. It's workforce housing, walking distance from our two biggest employers, the hospital and the school, the university. But I want to bring up something that's really important logistically. Hopefully we will pass this unanimously, and if we do, it has to be approved by the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, EOHLC, and their meeting is July 11th, which is ironically our meeting in July. So I know Councilor Merkel is going to schedule this before our June 27th meeting, and hope that everyone comes and learns about how great a project this is. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion to send this to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have a resolution for a tax increment exemption agreement to apply for housing development incentive program and HDIP through the state and to provide for an exemption on property taxes and for Juniper Point LLP.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move to refer this to the Committee on Administration and Finance, and also request this be co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Merkel moves to refer to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. Under discussion.
No discussion.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion to refer to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications to the mayor. Just that first paragraph in ordinance relative to changing.
In the year 2024, an ordinance relative to changing the name of the Traffic and Parking Department.
That's fine, yep. Counselor Morsillo.
Thank you, Chair. This and the following ordinance update the city ordinances and the traffic and parking ordinances to change the name of the Traffic and Parking Department to the Department of Transportation. The reason for this is because it better aligns with the work that they're doing now and in the future. Currently, they're in charge of...
Do you want to make your motion first?
Oh, I'm sorry. I move for adoption for first passage.
Counselor Morsillo moves for adoption for first passage and further discussion.
Thank you. All of that plus. So the department currently is in charge of all the garages, the resident parking, traffic calming, tour bus parking, the skipper, the Blue Bikes programs, and all this while researching ways to allow residents of Salem to live car-free or car-light. They also consider safe intersections for all users, including pedestrians, safer crosswalk designs, train and MBTA bus access, and the future regional bus route, hopefully. The change in name better describes their work, and words do matter. Yes, it will be confusing since we already have MassDOT, but I think we all could also get used to SDOT.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption for first passage, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
An ordinance relative to traffic and ordinances in the Traffic and Parking Department.
Counselor Morsillo.
Thank you, President. I move for adoption for first passage.
Counselor Morsillo moves for adoption for first passage. Under discussion.
Same discussion as previously.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on adoption for first passage, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
An ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to non-discrimination policy.
Counselor Morsillo.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for adoption for first passage.
Counselor Morsillo moves for adoption for first passage. Under discussion.
Thank you, President. So this is just clarifying language to the non-discrimination policy that already exists in our ordinance. It's not a result of any action, but an update in part to keep in sync with the school department's non-discrimination policy, which does include housing status. Adding the source of income and housing status to the city's policy is an important clarification to the language in our ordinance and policies. And if I just can read the first part of it, the purpose and intent of the policy, it's the finding of the city of Salem that no individual should be denied equal treatment or opportunity as a result of their age, ancestry, color, disability, family status, gender identity or expression, military status, marital status, national origin, race, religion, source of income, housing status, sex or sexual orientation.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption for first passage, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further. We're going to go back out of order to page 42. So can I have a motion to do that? So moved, anybody? So we're going back out of order to page 42. We just have to, there was a typo in this, so it should say $1,998,500. $1,098,500. And apparently we passed it $1,098,000.
Because I read the words, I didn't speak.
So Council Morcillo, I'm sorry, Council Merkel?
Yes, for clarity, the amount was read where the words are, and it didn't include the $500, just for everyone's understanding. So it was read what was printed there, but the correct one is actually the number that's in parenthesis. For clarity, thank you. So,
Would you like to make a motion, Council Merkel, for the amount of 1
yes.
million? Yep.
So I move for adoption for the amount of $1,098,500 for the fiscal year 2025 CPA funds.
Got it. Okay. So Council Morcillo, on Council Morcillo's motion that the amount of $1,098,500 be approved for CPA. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries.
I move that we go back to the order on page 14.
Back to page 14. Thank you, Anna. Let's see where.
You ready?
Okay, gotcha. Further communications from city official. I'm sorry, further communications from the mayor.
We have a letter from the mayor requesting that the city council schedule a committee of the whole meeting in the next coming months to meet with the Salem Public School Superintendent, Dr. Zreich, on the state of the school district.
Councilor Prosnowski.
Move to refer this to the committee of the whole.
Councilor Prosnowski, so this is already for the committee of the whole. So Councilor Prosnowski moves for adoption. Any discussion?
No discussion. It's evident that Dr. Zreich would like to update the council on the status of our schools, and I think we would be more than welcome to listen to that.
Any further discussion? Councilor Stott.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I kind of pushed for this one. I appreciate his willingness to come in, and I like to consider this our summer homework to learn about the great state of the Salem Public Schools. We kind of really just scratched the surface during the budget hearings, and there are so many great things going on, and also so many challenges that they have. So I'm looking forward to the update from Dr. Drake this summer.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion to meet within the committee of the whole with Dr. Zreich to learn about the state of Salem Public Schools. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Mayor's informational page, none. Motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. Ordered that the fiscal year 2024 monthly financial reports for February, March, and April 2024 be received and filed, and move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion?
No discussion.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President Hapworth. The City of Salem, June 13, 2024, ordered that the Committee on Public Health and Safety and Environment, co-posted with the Committee of a Whole, meet to discuss social consumption of cannabis in the City of Salem. And move for adoption.
Councilor Varela moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you, President Hapworth. Well, to start, this is coming about. The Cannabis Control Commission is preempting and allowing municipalities and towns to adopt through ordinance social consumption. So I feel that this conversation is long overdue. As we all know, we allow adult use of cannabis products here in our city. This conversation about social consumption is about equity. What we've been lacking is a safe space for our community to consume cannabis products. Renters do not have a safe space from legal repercussions if you cannot smoke in your dwelling. Medical users are some of our most stigmatized, socially vulnerable, high-needs medical cannabis patients with limited options and access to care. What we're looking to do here is have an initial discussion of how this could work in our city. And I understand there's a lot of nuances to this, but I look forward to starting the conversation and see how we can be a part of this and make sure that we're addressing the needs of our residents here in Salem. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Stott.
Thank you, President Hapworth. City of Salem, June 13, 2024. Ordered that the council chamber, specifically the pathway between both public entrances be fully accessible during City Hall operating hours. Any closure or changes in these times related to accessible entrances requires approval by the majority of the City Council, and I move for adoption.
Councilor Stott moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. If I need to explain, the two doors are on either side there. The mayor's office is only accessible by stairs on that side. So we want to always have this entranceway to make the mayor's office and constituent services fully accessible at all times, knowing that there might be some changes. So that would just require approval by City Council.
Any further discussion? Councilor Morcillo.
Thank you, President. Just for clarification, we're not saying that meetings can't be held in here just as long as the doors can remain open and accessible.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Stott.
Thank you, President Hapworth. City of Salem, June 13, 2024. In the City Council, order that the Committee on Government Services co-posted with the Committee of the Whole meet to discuss data requested during the budget hearings around the count of marriages performed in City Hall. Data to be provided by the City Clerk and reviewed at the meeting shall include count of weddings performed in City Hall by month, the current process for booking and performing weddings, fees charged, amount of time taken to perform a wedding, and any other pertinent information. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss a transparent policy, including scheduling fees and usage of council chambers and other areas in City Hall for wedding services, and I move for adoption.
Councilor Stott moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I mean, I think this was a pretty thorough order, so I don't have much to add to it other than this did come up during the budget process, and I would just like to have a transparent conversation around our current policy. Also thinking of this one as perhaps some summertime homework.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. This is Councilor Morcillo.
Thank you, President. The following 7 orders are relative to October temporary parking. Ordered.
Give the rating.
Thank you. I'll go through them one at a time. So these are, for the most part, I move for adoption. Right, these are all orders. Yep, move for adoption.
Councilor Morcillo moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you, President. So the first one is an order to add a couple of streets to the October resident-only parking. And these are not in the ordinance because they're added and they're kind of temporary to see how things go and if they're going to be needed in the future. I'm going to come back to the first one. The second one is 4 streets that already have partial resident-only parking. So now this adds to that the October resident parking. The third one is specific to Canal Street and Margin Street, that they become temporary parking meter zones through the city's parking app, and it's $1 an hour. Again, this was the same as last year. The next one is a parking rate for North Street, $2 an hour, again, using the parking app. We had the same one last year. The next one is a parking rate for Washington Street between Essex and Federal at $7 an hour. This is new this year. The thinking there is that the meters will be covered. It's only on the weekends. During the week, it will be the normal rate for parking on Washington Street, and the parking will be paid through the parking app. The next one is a parking rate for the Museum Place Garage, the South Harbor Garage. Let me see, the Crombie. That's it for this one. This one was the same as last year. The next one is the Crombie lot, the Old Salem Jail, the Crescent lot, Salem Green lot, Church Street lot East, and Church Street West. Again, these are the same as last year. And all of these where we're adding parking, Salem residents park for free. It's only the 15-cent cost of registering it on the parking app. And then the next one is a parking rate for the Crombie lot and the Old Salem Jail lot, the Crescent lot, the Salem Green lot, Church Street East, and Church Street West. And like I said, all of them except for the Washington Street block were the same as last year. That's it.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption, Councillor Stott.
Thank you, President Hepworth. I'd like to make one amendment, actually, on the first one. I think my fellow councillor might as well. Sorry, this slipped my mind. So my amendment is specific to the first one, which the department is requesting resident-only parking on Dearborn Street from north to Lee. So last year, 2 years ago, we did temporary parking on Dearborn Street. The Traffic and Parking Commission didn't think it was worth its while. There was a lot of impact on the perpendicular streets to Dearborn Street of visitors just parking there versus Dearborn Street. So kind of like the tube of toothpaste squeezing analogy. So they weren't going to do no parking on Dearborn Street. So fine, let's try it that way this year. But the sign still went up. So we enacted at the last minute resident only parking on Dearborn Street. But as a solution to that, instead of also including all of the additional, there's like 5 or 6 streets around there as resident only parking, because that's a huge lift to the Traffic and Parking Department, I put in an order that any residents on those streets, which is kind of, it's a tight little area, and Dearborn is a nice wide street, any residents can go to the Traffic and Parking office and get one temporary resident parking pass to park on Dearborn Street, which is around the corner from all those other streets. I think that worked well. There were a handful of residents that went and got the parking pass on Dearborn. I think it's a good compromise. I'm still on the fence as to whether Dearborn does need it. I think visually, driving into Salem, you're sitting in the traffic, you look down and you see this nice wide street with parking available on it. You're going to turn and park there, but the orange signs do kind of deter cars from turning into that neighborhood and parking. So there is a visual add to it. But I think, the entire neighborhood is not necessary, but I do agree that adding some option, Dearborn is, as you get further into Dearborn, there's a lot of, homes with driveways and available off-street parking, but I think opening it up to the whole neighborhood is available. So that said, my amendment will be exactly the same as the one that I submitted last year, but it was submitted in October, and I can forward this to the city clerk afterwards, but it was residents of the following street shall be granted eligibility for temporary resident parking passes on nearby designated temporary residential permit streets. Residents of the following streets must apply for the temporary parking permit at the parking office, showing proof of address and vehicle registration. One parking pass will be granted per vehicle, and no guest passes will be provided. And those streets are Upham Street, Walter Street, Harris Street, Osborne Street, Orchard Street, and Moulton Street.
Second.
Seconded by, so the amendment is made by Councillor Stott, seconded by Councillor Morcillo. Any further discussion? Seeing none. So we'll take a vote on that amendment first. All those in favor? Any opposed? Amendment carries.
One more.
On to the main, Councillor Morcillo.
Thank you, President, and thank you for bringing in your amendment, because I did forget I had an amendment to this one also, and that's just to include May Street on this, May, M-A-Y.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Varela. Any further discussion on that?
It's just it's a very small street that goes from Boston Street to Essex, kind of in a half of a square. They're feeling a pinch right now, and especially they're right on the outskirts of other resident-only parking, and so we're going to try it this year and see if it makes a difference.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councillor Morcillo's amendment to add May Street, all those in favor? Any opposed? Amendment carries. Back to the main motion. Any further discussion on that? Let me go to the bottom here and just get to where I'm at here. Okay, so on Councilor Morcillo's order here, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. I think we're Councilor Morcillo again.
Okay, this is another combination one. The following 3 ordinance amendments relative to traffic, Chapter 42.
Waive the reading.
Thank you. Okay, I move for adoption. I'm trying to find the paper.
Passage.
For first passage. Adoption for first passage.
Page 22. Councilor Morcillo moves for adoption for first passage. Under discussion.
I'm not finding this. Okay. All right. So this is an update to the ordinance for something that we tried last year for bus stops. I believe that's what this is. So this is adding a bus stop to Congress Street on the westerly side. 2 bus stops. Okay, Derby Street, Forest Ave, a second one on Forest Ave, Jefferson Ave, and Canal Street. And this is for October weekends. Did they all say that? I'm sorry. So they're for the tourist season. Some of them are specifically for October, though. And so the idea here is that the buses would come in, drop people off in the downtown area, and then kind of use these other areas outside to park long term.
Any further discussion? Seeing none?
Wait, hold on. That was the first one, right? Oh my gosh, this is very confusing to read there. All right, so the second one is, the holidays, the legal holidays for businesses where the restriction shall not apply for parking. And that's President's Day, Patriots Day, Memorial Day, Juneteenth, Labor Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, day after Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve Day, Christmas Day, and New Year's Day. And that will become part of the ordinances. Okay, 2021, 22. And then the final one, is repealing an ordinance for a parking space. Oh, shoot. Okay. This one we want to separate. So can we just take those first two?
So the motion is to
Those first two.
to split the question on
Split the
that.
question.
So we're going to take up the first 2 orders, the first 2 sections that were just covered by Councilor Morcillo, and then we'll take the third after that. I believe, do we need a vote to do that?
Yeah.
To split the question?
Yep.
So the motion to split the question, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Okay, so then we'll take that. Are we ready to take that vote now? Any further discussion?
On the first two, right.
Any further discussion on those first 2? Seeing none. So on the first 2, adoption for first passage, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Okay, now on the third section that we've split off here, Councilor Morcillo.
This one I'll read through. In the year 2024, an ordinance relative to traffic, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Section 75A of Article V-A, and be amended by repealing the following from Section C. Up to 176 parking spaces will be sectioned off on the roof as reserved spaces for the temporary pass holders, and inserting the following: no more than 50 parking spaces will be sectioned off on the roof as reserved spaces for those temporary pass holders. Additional spaces may be reserved at the discretion of the Director of the Department of Transportation. Section 2, Section 75A of Article V-A be amended by inserting the following to Section C. Number 8, 2 Derby Square, Essex Street Lofts. Section 3, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by city charter. And I move that this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs.
Councilor Morcillo moves to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. Any further discussion?
Thank you, President. This was at the request of Councilor Watson-Felt, who this is in her ward, and she wanted some further discussion on this one.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Morcillo.
Thank you, President. In the year 2024, an ordinance relative to traffic, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Chapter 42, Section 51, parking prohibited on certain streets be amended by adding the following. Jefferson Avenue, parking prohibited on certain streets, northerly side from Winthrop Street to in an easterly direction for a distance of 40 feet. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by City Charter. And I move for adoption for first passage.
Councilor Morcillo moves for adoption for first passage. Under discussion.
Thank you, President. This is a site issue coming out of Winthrop Street when cars are too close to that to that intersection, it does create a problem, and it has been noted by the police department. And so I move for adoption.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption for first passage, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Harvey.
Thank you, President Hapworth. An ordinance relative to traffic, 42, Section 49A, prohibited movements. Section 49A, prohibited movements, be amended by adding the following: Valley Street prohibited movements, no left turn for southerly bound traffic on Valley Street onto Highland Ave. This ordinance shall take effect as provided by city charter. And I moved for adopt for first passage, please.
Councilor Harvey moves for adoption for first passage. Under discussion?
Yes, thank you, President Hapworth. Talking with traffic and also the police department, this just makes sense. I've had a few complaints from some residents in the area, being it's so close to Wilson Street, and I just can't see why anybody in their right mind would want to take a left onto Highland Ave off of Valley Street, being that you can't see people trying to make the light at Cherry Hill and Wilson, obviously, so it just makes sense. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption for first passage, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Committee reports. Councilor Morsillo.
Thank you, President. City of Salem and City Council, June 13th, 2024. The Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of discussing an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic, Chapter 42, Section 75, parking prohibitions, towing zone, resident permit parking, by deleting Chapter 42, Section 75 in its entirety and replacing it with new language, has considered said matter and would recommend that it remain in committee.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? Report is accepted. On the recommendation, under discussion.
Thank you, President. This and the next order were discussed at the same time in the OLA meeting. We had a pretty long discussion about the new method of resident parking, the purchase of plate readers that will be used by the Department of Transportation and the Police Department to monitor resident-only areas. And they also presented the financials of how much it costs to run the program and to enforce the limitations, the parking limitations. We had a discussion about how to handle home health aides who really shouldn't have to purchase a parking pass. One thing, just to take a step back, when you get your resident parking, permit, you also have the option of purchasing guest passes, and then the guest passes themselves are limited to no more than 7 days for each use. So you could see how a home health aide coming a couple days a week, it would present a problem. So the department is working on a solution for that, as well as a solution for people doing home repairs and construction within these residential areas, and how those trucks and vehicles could be accommodated within this program. There was discussion on the fee increase, which is rising from $5 to $20, as well as the tickets that are written up for enforcement, and whether those fees could be changed. As an aside, that's coming. There were several open questions. I think the discussion needs to continue, and so it was kept in committee.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the recommendation that it remain in committee, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports. Councilor Morsillo.
Thank you, President. City of Salem and City Council, June 13th, 2024. The Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of discussing an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic, Chapter 42, Section 75A, parking prohibitions, towing zone, October resident parking, has considered said matter and would recommend that it remain in committee.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? Report is accepted. On the recommendation, under discussion.
This is the same as the resident parking, but with the flavor of October only and how that permitting will work. And so it also was kept in committee.
Any further discussion? On the recommendation that it remain in committee, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports. Councilor Morsillo.
Thank you, President. City of Salem and City Council, June 13th, 2024. The Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of discussing an ordinance relative to the rates for use of water, Chapter 46, Section 66, has considered said matter and would recommend adoption for first passage.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. On the recommendation, under discussion.
Thank you, President. We had a great presentation by Anna Friedman just previous to this meeting, where she presented the financials and kind of forward-looking over the next couple of years for both the water and the sewer fees. Again, for those that remember from last year in the presentation, we're trying to kind of even out the fees within the sewer and the water. And so the water fees are going to go up a little bit more so that the sewer fees are not subsidizing the water fees in the future. So for this particular one, the new rate is $4.42 for residential per 100 cubic feet, up from $4.06. The non-residential per 100 cubic feet is $5.99, up from $5.49. And the minimum rate for residential metered water for each quarter shall be $44.20 per 1,000 cubic feet, up from $40.60. And this represents an increase of 9%.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to the rates for water, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports. Councilor Morsillo.
Thank you, President. City of Salem and City Council, June 13th, 2024. The Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of amending an ordinance relative to sewer use charges, Chapter 46, Section 230, has considered said matter and would recommend adoption for first passage.
Acceptance of the report. All those in favor? Any opposed? Report is accepted. On the recommendation, under discussion.
Thank you, President. Again, this particular one represents an increase of 3% as opposed to the 9% for water. The rates for residential per 100 cubic feet is going to rise to $8.04 from $7.81. The non-residential per 100 cubic feet up to 25,000 cubic feet per month is rising from $11.83 to $12.18. And then the non-residential per 100 cubic feet for 25,000 cubic feet or greater per month is rising from $15.15 to $15.60.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to sewer use charges, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. For the committee reports, Councilor Morsillo.
Thank you, President. City of Salem and City Council, June 13th, 2024. The Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom it was referred the matter of an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to solid waste management, Chapter 36, Section 36-6, has considered said matter and would recommend adoption for first passage.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? Report is accepted. On the recommendation, under discussion.
Thank you, President. This represents an increase of 3.5%. It also, I will add, it does not fully cover the increases, so it's still being subsidized by taxpayers. It represents an increase from $21.12 to $21.86, and I believe the last one is a maximum of $134.16 being raised to $138.86. Oh, and also deleting the fee of $30.64 and replacing it with $31.71.
Just for clarity, we're at solid waste management right now, right? Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to solid waste management, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports, Councilor Morsil.
City of Salem and City Council, June 13th, 2024. The Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to the pickup of large items, fee, Chapter 36-4, has considered said matter and would recommend that it remain in committee.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. On the recommendation under discussion.
We had a good discussion about the request to fully cover the cost of bulk items for pickup. We also talked about the items being kind of dumped around in different places in the outskirts mostly of Salem, and the cost to the city of picking them up. I will say that there is a waiver that residents can fill out, and it will allow them to get rid of these bulk items at no cost. But there were still a couple of requests. One was that the ordinance actually list the cost of the item. So how much a mattress will cost to pick up, how much a bulk item will cost. And if there's any sort of a variation in the types of bulk item, it should be in the ordinance. It shouldn't just be a blanket that the resident's going to cover the cost, so that the city council can then decide how much of that the resident will pay and how much, if any, the city will cover. And it's also just a better way of knowing right away by looking in the ordinances how much it's going to cost for the resident. So it's remaining in committee, sorry.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion this remain in committee, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports. Councilor Morsil still.
Thank you, President. City of Salem and City Council, June 13th, 2024. The Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom it was referred the matter of discussing a granting of certain licenses for seaworms for Manuel Greco, has considered said matter and would recommend that it be granted.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? Report is accepted. On the recommendation under discussion.
Yay, seaworms.
Any further discussion on seaworms? Seeing none, on the recommendation, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports. Councilor Morsil.
Thank you, President. City of Salem and City Council, June 13th, 2024. The Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred a matter of discussing the granting of certain licenses for a junk dealer license at 15 Robinson Road, LLC, has considered said matter and would recommend that it be granted.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? Report is accepted. On the recommendation under discussion.
No discussion.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the recommendation to be granted, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Good job, Councilor Morsil. On to further committee reports. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. City of Salem in City Council, June 13th, 2024. The Committee on Administration and Finance co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom it was referred the matter of the following bond order in the amount of $5,828,761 for the fiscal year 2025 General Fund Capital Improvement Program in accordance with Mass General Law. Chapter 44 has considered said matter and would recommend adoption by roll call vote.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? Report is accepted. On the recommendation under discussion.
No discussion.
Any further discussion? On the recommendation of adoption by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll. Accept the report. On acceptance of the report, Madam City Clerk, we're gonna do a roll call vote for that, just the way the agenda is written, I guess. On acceptance of the report, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll. I don't think that's necessary, but go ahead, let's do it. Is that? Okay, on the recommendation, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Cohen?
Yes.
Councilor Davis?
Yes.
Councilor Harvey?
Yes.
Councilor Jerslow?
Yes.
Councilor Merkel?
Yes.
Councilor Marcillo?
Yes.
Counselor Presnowski.
Yes.
Counselor Stott.
Yes.
Counselor Varela.
Yes.
Counselor Hapworth.
Yes. On the bond order, $5,828,761. We have 10 counselors voting, 10 in favor, 1 absent. The matter carries. Further committee reports. Counselor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. City of Salem and City Council, June 13th, 2024. The Committee of Administration and Finance co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to who was referred the matter of the following bond order in the amount of $2,200,000 for fiscal year 2025 water sewer capital improvement program in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Sections 7 and 8, has considered said matter and would recommend adoption. And I also noticed that this and the last one was roll call and wasn't quite sure why, but it did say roll call vote for this one as well.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? Report is accepted. On the recommendation, under discussion.
No discussion.
On the recommendation for adoption by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Cohen.
Yes.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Harvey.
Yes.
Counselor Jerslow.
Yes.
Counselor Merkel.
Yes.
Counselor Marcillo.
Yes.
Counselor Presnowski.
Yes.
Counselor Stott.
Yes.
Counselor Varela.
Yes.
Counselor Hapworth.
Yes. The bond order of $2,200,000 for water and sewer. We have 10 counselors voting, 10 in favor, none opposed, 1 absent. The matter carries. Further committee reports. Counselor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. City of Salem and City Council, June 13th, 2024. The Committee of Administration and Finance co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom it was referred the matter of appropriation in the amount of $3,253,363 for fiscal year 2025 short-term capital improvement plan, has considered said matter and would recommend adoption.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? Report is accepted. On the recommendation, under discussion.
No discussion.
On the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? The matter carries. Further committee reports. Counselor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. City of Salem and City Council, June 13th, 2024. The Committee of Administration and Finance co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to was referred the matter of appropriation in the amount of $435,000 for retained earnings from the Water Sewer Fund to capital improvement funds, has considered said matter and would recommend adoption.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? The report is accepted. On the recommendation, under discussion.
No discussion.
On the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? The matter carries. Further committee reports. Counselor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. City of Salem and City Council, June 13th, 2024. The Committee of Administration and Finance co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to was referred the matter of appropriation in the amount of $100,000 transferred from the general fund balance reserve for free cash and appropriated to capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2025, has considered said matter and would recommend adoption.
Acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? Report is accepted. On the recommendation, under discussion.
No discussion.
On the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports. Counselor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. City of Salem and City Council, June 13th, 2024. The Committee of Administration and Finance co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of appropriation in the amount of $85,000 from receipts reserved for appropriation to Park and Rec Golf Course Equipment Account. And it was adopted for clarity to add in pursuant of the fiscal year 25 capital improvement program. Has considered said matter and would recommend adoption.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? Report is accepted. On the recommendation, under discussion.
No discussion.
On the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports. Counselor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth, City of Salem and City Council, June 13th, 2024. The Committee of Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of appropriation in the amount of $63,155 for the retained earnings PEG Access Fund account to the fiscal year 2025 capital improvement plan, has considered said matter and would recommend adoption.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? Report is accepted. On the recommendation, under discussion.
No discussion.
On the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth, City of Salem and City Council, June 13th, 2024. The Committee of Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom it was referred the matter to establish revolving funds for fiscal year 2025 in the amount of $1,992,000 in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E, 1-2, and has considered said matter and would recommend adoption.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? Report is accepted. On the recommendation, under discussion.
No discussion.
On the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth, City of Salem and City Council, June 13th, 2024. The Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter to establish revolving account for Charlotte Fortin Park in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E, 1-2, has considered said matter and would recommend adoption.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? Report is accepted. On the recommendation, under discussion.
No discussion.
On the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth, City of Salem and City Council, June 13th, 2024. The Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of fiscal year 2025 proposed 5-year capital improvement program for years 2025 through 2029, has considered said matter and would recommend adoption.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? Report is accepted. On the recommendation, under discussion.
Thank you, President Hapworth. There was discussion and a motion to remove an item that was under the Transportation Department for $50,000 in ARPA funds for a fence installation on Washington and Essex Street. And concerns were expressed, and we've received concerns from the public as well about this. If it falls under best practice and use of ARPA funds, and there was requests for more public discussion about it, not only with the public, but with the council and traffic and parking to consider other ideas. And we had a discussion and suggestions were made about raised crosswalks and eliminating a dangerous left turn there. And it was a good discussion. The motion to eliminate this item did fail with a vote 2-2 in committee. So then the next motion was to recommend adoption as is, and that passed unanimously. So I move for adoption.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth, City of Salem and City Council, June 13th, 2024. The Committee of Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom it was referred the matter of the fiscal year 2025, and has considered said matter and would recommend accepting the report.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? Report is accepted. Further committee reports. Councilor Merkel. Here we go.
Thank you, President Hapworth. Yes, here we go. Committee report, Administration and Finance, the budget, and City Council regular meeting, June 13th, 2024. The Mayor's departmental budget for fiscal year 2025, personnel in the amount of $573,578, non-personnel expenses, $130,284, for a total.
Wait the reading.
Motion to waive the reading. Seeing no objection. We can.
I don't recall that being, as long as we feel confident that can be done.
If anybody objects, then we can't, then we'll continue. So,
I don't recall that
okay,
being done.
and we continue forward.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll get through. we'll get through. But I always recall it being read. Again, the mayor's departmental, and I will go quickly. The mayor's departmental budget for fiscal year 2025 and personnel in the amount of $573,578, non-personnel expenses, $130,284 for a total of $703,862. City council departmental budget, personnel, $179,337, non-personnel expenses, and $78,962 for a city council department total of $258,299. For the city clerk's department and personnel, $360,292, non-personnel expenses, the amount of $13,870 for a city clerk department total of $374,162. Elections and registration, personnel total of $257,197, non-personnel expenses, $56,650 for an elections and registration department total of $313,847. For assessing, personnel in the amount of $377,693, non-personnel expenses, $71,445 for an assessing total of $449,138. The collectors, personnel total of $274,883, non-personnel expenses, $8,300 for a collector's total of $283,183. For the finance department, personnel in the amount of $462,168, non-personnel expenses, $128,586 for a finance department total of $590,754. For purchasing, non-personnel in the amount of $189,869, non-personnel expenses, $23,725 for a purchasing total of $213,594. Added fixed costs for $39,181 for a total of $252,775. With the Treasurer's Department, we have personnel in the amount of $293,497, non-personnel expenses in the amount of $132,125 for a treasurer total of $425,622. And then we have the debt service expenses in the amount of $8,755,889, short-term debt in the amount of $251,372. Essex North Shore and Agricultural and Technical School in the amount of $2,430,076. And the state assessment expenses in the amount of $10,883,575. Contributory retirement, non-personnel services in the amount of $15,734,481. Non-contributory retirement, $10,625 for non-personnel services. Medicare for non-personnel services, $1,465,528. Municipal insurance, non-personnel expenses, $345,865 for a treasurer's total of $40,303,033. On to the parking department, personnel in the amount of $1,174,099. Non-personnel expenses, $521,035 for a parking department total of $1,695,134. For IT, the informational technology services, personnel in the amount of $801,720. Non-personnel expenses in the amount of $12,500 for a total of $814,220. Added fixed costs in the amount of $960,745 for an IT services department total of $1,774,965. For the solicitor licensing personnel in the amount of $512,110, non-personnel expenses in the amount of $81,100 for a total of $593,210. Just to touch base, we're now at the top of page 33. Human Resources Department amount in personnel in the amount of $1,021,414, non-personnel expenses, the amount of $31,800 for a total of $1,053,214. Workman's comp non-personnel in the amount of $410,806. Unemployment comp non-personnel in the amount of $220,000. Group insurance non-personnel in the amount of $18,605,282 for a Human Resources Department total of $20,289,302. On to the Fire Department personnel in the amount of $10,133,256. Non-personnel expenses in the amount of $477,449 for a fire department total of $10,610,705. The police department personnel in the amount of $12,099,624. Non-personnel expenses in the amount of $1,007,660 for a police department total of $13,107,284. The Harbor Master Department personnel total in the amount of $379,108. Non-personnel expenses $60,299 for a Harbor Master Department total of $439,407. On to public property, building, plumbing, gas inspections. The inspectional services for building, plumbing, gas, and the inspector personnel in the amount of $770,404. Non-personnel expenses in the amount of $49,242 for a total of $819,646. Zoning Board of Appeals, non-personnel expenses, $1,200. Public property fixed costs in the amount of $730,950 for a total of $1,551,796. On to the Health Department, personnel in the amount of $626,017. Non-personnel expenses in the amount of $126,639 for a Health Department total of $752,656. The Electrical Department, personnel in the amount of $471,041. Non-personnel expenses, $468,615 for an Electrical Department total of $939,656. The Planning Department, personnel in the amount of $686,834. Non-personnel expenses in the amount of $134,012 for a Planning Department total of $820,846. Then the Conservation Commission personnel in the amount of $32,230. Non-personnel expenses in the amount of $1,513 for a total of $33,743. The Planning Board personnel in the amount of $34,726. Non-personnel expenses $3,763 for a Planning Board total of $38,489. Market and Tourist Commission, non-personnel expenses in the amount of $309,550. The Historical Commission, personnel in the amount of $38,198. Non-personnel expenses in the amount of $1,338 for an Historical Commission total of $39,536. And all of this for a grand total of $1,242,164. And that is for the Planning Department. Okay, on to Resiliency and Sustainability Department. Personnel in the amount of $250,226. Non-personnel expenses in the amount of $10,405 for a resiliency and sustainability total of $260,631. Public Services Department, the Public Services personnel, $2,125,986. Non-personnel expenses in the amount of $1,696,850 for a total of $3,822,836. Snow and ice personnel in the amount of $50,000. Non-personnel expenses in the amount of $408,935 for a snow and ice total of $458,935. And this brings the total for Department of Public Services to a total of $4,281,771. For clarity, we're at the top of page 36. The engineering department, engineering personnel, $119,174. Non-personnel expenses for a total of $26,000, and for an engineering total of $145,174. For recreation and community services, we have recreation personnel in the amount of $479,362, non-personnel expenses in the amount of $507,749 for a recreation total of $987,111. Golf course personnel, $402,518. Non-personnel expenses in the amount of $788 for a golf course total of $687,306. The Witch House personnel in the amount of $229,446. Non-personnel expenses in the amount of $113,853 for a Witch House total of $343,299. Pioneer Village, non-personnel expenses in the amount of $26,980. Winter Island personnel in the amount of $232,717. Non-personnel expenses in the amount of $93,325 for a Winter Island total of $326,042. Charter Street personnel, $146,114. Non-personnel expenses, $64,690 for a Charter Street total of $210,804. And for recreation and community service total of $2,581,542. Council on Aging Department personnel, total of $563,429, non-personnel expenses of $112,782 for Council on Aging total of $676,211. The library personnel in the amount of $1,258,199, non-personnel expenses in the amount of $407,541 for a library total of $1,665,740. Veteran Services personnel in the amount of $147,225, non-personnel expenses in the amount of $410,800 for a Veteran Services total of $558,025. Salem Schools, administrative and expenses, and the total amount is $74,592,616. For budget transfers out of general fund for fiscal year 2025, the total is $580,000. And this is a total general fund for fiscal year 2025 in the total amount of $181,867,042. And I move for approval by roll call vote.
Councilor Merkel moves for confirmation by roll call vote. You're going to do individual discussion on each of these departments?
Absolutely.
Any discussion?
No discussion.
Councilor Merkel's motion for adoption by roll call vote. All those in favor? Any opposed?
No, roll call?
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Cohen?
Yes.
Counselor Davis?
Yes.
Counselor Harvey?
Yes.
Counselor Jerslow?
Yes.
Counselor Merkel?
Yes.
Counselor Marcillo.
Yes.
Counselor Presnowski.
Yes.
Counselor Stott.
Yes.
Counselor Varela.
Yes.
Counselor Hapworth.
Yes. Thank you. On the general fund, we have 10 counselors voting, 10 in favor, none opposed, and 1 absent. The matter carries. Counselor Merkel.
I move for immediate reconsideration in the hopes that it does not prevail.
Counselor Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration in the hopes that does not prevail. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Opposed.
Matter does not prevail. Further committee reports. Counselor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. City of Salem, June 13th, in the regular city council meeting, committee report, administration and finance, the budget. Sewer Enterprise Fund for fiscal year 2025. Public Services Sewer, personnel in the amount of $518,033, expenses in the amount of $208,376, for a Public Services Sewer total of $726,409. Engineer Sewer, personnel in the amount of $220,828, non-personnel expenses, $1,010,212, for an engineer's sewer total of $1,231,040. The treasurer, debt services, $1,751,831, and short-term debt services in the amount of $55,256. Sewer Enterprise Fund for fiscal year 2025, sewer assessment, SESD, $4,644,000. Sorry. Yeah. There's a, okay, one of the numbers here might be reversed. So we're going to take 1 minute to check the treasurer's debt service amount. It says $1,751,831, and our finance director has a concern that it might be 813.
I am very impressive that was caught just then, if that's something.
Yes, Ms. Friedman is always very impressive and on top of every dollar. We're looking at treasurer debt services. Yes, top of page 38. Eight one. Okay, again, back to, we are under Sewer Enterprise Fund for fiscal year 2025 at the top of page 38, and we were on the item Treasurer Debt Services. The correct amount is $1,751,813. Short-term debt services is $55,256. Sewer Enterprise Fund for fiscal year 2025, sewer assessment, SESD, $4,644,596. Insurance deductibles in the amount of $10,000. Total sewer enterprise personnel in the amount of $730,861. Non-personnel expenses, $7,680,253, for a total of $8,419,114. And this brings the total sewer enterprise fund to $8,419,114. And I move for approval by roll call vote.
Council Merkel moves for approval by roll call vote. Any discussion?
No discussion.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Cohen. Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Harvey.
Yes.
Counselor Jerslow.
Yes.
Counselor Merkel.
Yes.
Counselor Morcillo.
Yes.
Counselor Presnowski.
Yes.
Counselor Stott.
Yes.
Counselor Varela.
Yes.
And Counselor Hapworth.
Yes. The total water and total sewer enterprise fund for FY25, we have 10 councilors voting, 10 in favor, none opposed, 1 absent. The matter carries. Further committee reports. Councilor Merkel.
Yes, I move for immediate reconsideration in the hopes that it does not prevail.
Councilor Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration in the hopes it does not prevail. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Opposed.
Matter does not prevail. Further committee reports. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. City of Salem, June 13th, 2024, City Council regular meeting. Committee report, Administration Finance Budget. Water Enterprise Fund for fiscal year 2025. Public Services Water personnel in the amount of $574,683. Non-personnel expenses in the amount of $209,386 for a total of $784,069. Engineering Water personnel in the amount of $220,828. Non-personnel expenses $796,487 for an engineering water total of $1,017,315. Water treasurer water long-term debt $2,401,729. Water short-term debt $79,415. Salem Beverly Water Board assessment in the amount of $3,147,612. Insurance deductible in the amount of $5,000. Water Enterprise Fund for fiscal year 2025. Total water enterprise personnel $795,511. Non-personnel expenses $6,639,629 for a total of $7,435,140 for a total water enterprise fund, which is the same, $7,435,140. And I move for approval by roll call vote.
Councilor Merkel moves for approval by roll call vote. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Cohen.
Yes.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Harvey.
Yes.
Counselor Jerslow.
Yes.
Counselor Merkel.
Yes.
Counselor Morcillo.
Yes.
Counselor Presnowski.
Yes.
Counselor Stott.
Yes.
Counselor Varela.
Yes.
And Counselor Hapworth.
On the total water enterprise fund, we have 10 councilors voting, 10 in favor, 1 absent. Matter carries.
I move for immediate reconsideration in the hopes that it does not prevail.
Councilor Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration in the hopes it does not prevail. All is in favor? Any opposed?
Opposed.
Matter does not prevail. Further committee reports. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. City of Salem, June 13th. Committee report, Administration and Finance Budget. Trash Enterprise Fund for fiscal year 2025. Engineering, Trash Enterprise. Personnel in the amount of $120,873. Non-personnel expenses in the amount of $4,122,895 for a total of $4,243,768. And so that is the total Trash Enterprise Fund, $4,243,768. And I move for approval by roll call vote.
Councilor Merkel moves for approval by roll call vote. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Cohen.
Yes.
Counselor Davis.
Yes.
Counselor Harvey.
Yes.
Counselor Jerslow.
Yes.
Counselor Merkel.
Yes.
Counselor Morcillo.
Yes.
Counselor Presnowski.
Yes.
Counselor Stott.
Yes.
Counselor Varela.
Yes.
Counselor Hapworth.
Yes. Total Trash Enterprise Fund, we have 10 councilors voting, 10 in favor, 1 absent. The matter carries. Councilor Merkel.
I move for immediate reconsideration in the hopes that it does not prevail.
Councilor Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration. The hopes it does not prevail. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Opposed.
Matter does not prevail. Further committee reports. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. Committee report, Administration and Finance for the budget. The PEG Access Enterprise Fund for fiscal year 2025. Total PEG Access Enterprise Fund in the amount of $691,250. And I move for approval by roll call vote.
Councilor Merkel moves for approval by roll call vote. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Cohen,
Yes.
Counselor Davis,
Yes.
Counselor Harvey,
Yes.
Counselor Jerslow,
Yes.
Counselor Merkel,
Yes.
Counselor Marcillo,
Yes.
Counselor Presnowski,
Yes.
Counselor Stott,
Yes.
Counselor Varela,
Yes.
and Counselor Hapworth.
Yes. The PEG Access Enterprise Fund, we have 10 counselors voting, 10 in favor, 1 absent. The matter carries. Counselor Merkel.
Thank you. Total enterprise funds for fiscal year 2025.
Reconsideration real quick.
Oh, sorry. Move for immediate reconsideration in the hopes it does not prevail.
Counselor Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration. Hopes does not prevail. All is in favor. Any opposed? Matter does not prevail. Counselor Merkel, further committee reports.
Total enterprise funds for fiscal year 2025, personnel in the amount of $1,655,245, non-personnel in the amount of $19,134,027 for a total of $20,789,272. And I move for approval by roll call vote.
Counselor Merkel moves for approval by roll call vote. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Cohen, Counselor Davis,
Yes.
Counselor Harvey,
Yes.
Counselor Jerslow,
Yes.
Counselor Merkel,
Yes.
Counselor Marcillo,
Yes.
Counselor Presnowski,
Yes.
Counselor Stott,
Yes.
Counselor Varela,
Yes.
and Counselor Hapworth.
Yes. Total Enterprise Fund, we have 10 counselors voting, 10 in favor, none opposed, 1 absent. Matter carries.
Thank you. I move for immediate reconsideration in the hopes it does not prevail.
Counselor Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration. The hopes does not prevail. All is in favor. Any opposed? Matter does not prevail. Further committee reports. Counselor Merkel.
Thank you. City of Salem, June 13th, City Council regular meeting, the committee report administration and finance, the budget, the total operating budget for fiscal year 2025 in the amount of $202,656,314. And I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Counselor Merkel moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you. And I do want to say thank you to our finance department, our director, Anna Friedman, and our deputy finance director, Justin McCutcheon, and the rest of the staff. Appreciate all the hard work that went into this budget, and it's been really impressive. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank the city staff. The budget hearings are a great opportunity to get to learn about the incredible work our city departments do and to get to know the staff. And also, I want to thank my administration finance committee for all their work. It made a great team. And thanks to Mayor Pangallo and also to Maureen. She helped me a lot over the last couple of days. And really, there's no better way to get to know the city of Salem and how it runs and what makes it tick and the people that do it. So I just want to say how much I appreciate all of that. Thank you. And I move for adoption.
Any further discussion? Counselor Stott.
Thank you, Chair Hapworth. President Hapworth. I would also like to echo what Chair Merkel just said about the professionalism with this budget, the details that were provided. I'm sure a large majority and portion of that is thanks to our finance director, Anna Friedman, the administration, and all of the department heads, and all of the information that was provided during the budget season. It is definitely the best way to learn about the city of Salem. It's literally the book of the city of Salem. So much information is provided, so many details, and I love being able to dive into it every year. And I would also like to throw a thanks to the chair of A&F. You did a fabulous job this year, and I really appreciate your leadership and your ability to direct us to the correct pages and tabs, and even this evening of being on point with all of the work. It is not an easy task of all of what we just did and wrapped up, made it look really easy because you had all your I's dotted and T's crossed, or 8s checked and 7s crossed. But you did it with ease, but I know that there was a lot of background work behind that done. So thank you very much. And I appreciate the work that you did.
Any further discussion?
Say thank you. It is a great learning experience. It really is. It's terrific.
I'd also like to echo my thanks for Councilor Merkel for what she did. This is not easy. This is a long, long process. Just appreciate her hard work on this. And I do want to just re-recognize Anna Friedman for a $202 million budget, noticing an $18 difference an hour and 43 minutes into this meeting is pretty incredible and should give a lot of people a lot of comfort in what we're doing here. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the adoption by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Cohen?
Yes.
Counselor Davis?
Yes.
Counselor Harvey?
Yes.
Counselor Jerslow?
Yes.
Counselor Merkel?
Yes.
Counselor Marcillo?
Yes.
Counselor Presnowski?
Yes.
Counselor Stott?
Yes.
Counselor Varela?
Yes.
And Counselor Hapworth?
Yes. On the total operating budget of $202,656,314 for FY 2025, we have 10 counselors voting, 1 absent, 10 in favor, none opposed. The matter carries.
I move for immediate reconsideration in the hopes that it does not prevail.
Councilor Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration in the hopes that it does not prevail. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Opposed.
Matter does not prevail. Communications from city officials. I believe that starts with you, Maureen. Madam City Clerk.
The following 3 orders from the city solicitor for exemption to the Mass General Law, Chapter 268A, Section 20B. So that is for, you want to, sorry.
Councilor Marcillo.
Okay.
Thank you, President. I move for adoption.
Councilor Marcillo moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you, President. This is 3 different employees of the city. The first one, Donna Lambert, works in the clerk's office, and she is taking a second job as part of the Parks and Rec. The second person is Anita Echevarria. She works at Collins Middle School and will be working in Parks and Rec during the summer. And then the third is Joanne Rumi, who works for the solicitor's office and will be working in the city clerk's office taking minutes. So that's a good thing.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from city officials. Councilor Jerslow.
We have an order in accordance to the city ordinance, Chapter 38 of the City of Salem's outdoor dining policy, and that the city council hereby authorize the city solicitor to amend an existing license agreement to allow Bombolina Restaurant at 288 Derby Street to occupy 440 square feet of the city property for outdoor dining. Such approval is subject to any limitations or conditions required of the Disability Commission, Redevelopment Authority, Design Review Board, and the Licensing Board.
Councilor Jerslow.
Thank you, Chair. I move to refer this to the Committee of the Economic Development.
Councilor Jerslow moves to refer to the Committee on Community and Economic Development. Under discussion.
The owner of Bambolina actually built a structure bigger than he was supposed to. He was originally only supposed to build 380 square feet, and he built 60 square feet over of 444 square feet. He built a pergola structure over. He didn't have permission to build it. I talked with the building inspector today. She did a stop order on the structure. He'll need a building permit to take down the structure. And there's also a few other concerns. The owner puts a pizza oven in the street, and I have a call out to the health department on that also. So I feel there's a lot of questions and concerns with this property, and I believe it would be better served in the committee.
Further discussion, Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President Hapworth. So as we all know what happened, I was on the SRA meeting last night, and the SRA decided to not grant Mr. Haig permission for the pergola. One reason I bring this up is a little frustrating. As we all know, we just really recently passed this outdoor dining ordinance, and we understood that there's going to be some tweaks to this. So, going forward for tonight, I really hope that we adopt what is in front of us. As it stands now, Bambolina is losing about average of $2,500 a day in revenue. Mr. Higgs also employed additional employees. to make sure that we can handle that. The problem I have, and the reason I bring this up, is when it comes to the actual policy, what it explicitly says, which is, I think we need to talk about this, is when considering for an outdoor dining in a public area, the city or redevelopment authority shall review and determine the health, safety, risk to the public benefit, as well as pedestrian ADA accessibility. When it comes to the SRA, when it comes to city council on approving these, this should be based on safety. I understand that Mr. Hague went outside the realm to build a pergola, and I think going forward, we really need to look into working with our businesses. Maybe some people agree that the pergola they do not like, but you know what? When it comes to a pergola for an outdoor dining, it extends the season. When it rains, your customers aren't having to be escorted inside to actually dine. So for tonight, I really hope that we can move to adopt this and move forward to work with the city solicitor going forward in either amending the policy to make sure that we're here to help our businesses, not to reprimand them for mistakes. Thank you.
Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President Hapworth. So last year, Councilor Marcillo and I joined the Commission on Disabilities in surveying all the establishments that were granted a license the year before and a couple of ones that were starting out. And I did about 40% of them, and with Zeke Holt, who's a commissioner and the ADA compliance officer at Salem State, Bambolina was one that we did together. It actually, conformed to almost everything in the survey that we did. And we asked questions outside of the MCAD requirements, the disability requirements that the state has issued. I'm not going to vote to refer this to committee. I agree that we should vote on this because of this. The establishment will take down the pergola, but by doing this, they will not be allowed to have outdoor dining outside. And I believe that they did enough to warrant doing that, putting what they need to, like umbrellas or whatever, in place of the pergola. So I think denying a local-owned small business the ability to do outdoor dining when the only thing that they did was build a pergola, which I believe, I haven't talked to the owner about it, but I believe they attempted to do something that they thought was a benefit, and they did violate the rule, and they are dealing with the consequences from the building department. So I'm going to vote against referring this to committee, and if that happens, I will vote to adopt this tonight.
Councilor Harvey.
Thank you, President Hapworth. Unfortunately, I disagree with both Councilor Varela and Councilor Cohen, because outdoor dining specifically says in the ordinance that you're allowed tables and umbrellas. It does not say you can build a pergola. And on top of that, Bambolina did not go before the building department to pull a building permit. So that in itself is a violation of safety for the public. We don't know who built that pergola. We don't know whether it's even safe for people to sit under if all of a sudden we do get a thunderstorm with high winds, and it wasn't inspected by our city officials. I can't see not sending this to committee and going and getting a little more information on what's actually going on, because if we don't, then we're setting the precedence for all the other businesses. It's okay to do whatever you want. He was asked to take it down by the building department, and there was a work order, a cease and desist order put on the actual structure. And I also spoke with the building department, and they told me his answer to our department head at the building department was, I'm not taking that down. It cost me $3,500. Well, that in itself is disrespectful to one of our department heads, and I can't see setting a precedence for this with the rest of the businesses. I mean, so all of a sudden, if just use Ledger as an example, they want to put a pergola out there on Washington Street. It doesn't say pergolas, it says umbrellas and tables. That's what the ordinance says. So he's in violation of the ordinance right from the get-go, not to mention the fact that it was bigger than what it's supposed to be. So it's the second violation. So in my opinion, I think it should go to committee and be decided on whether he should have outdoor dining or not.
Further discussion?
Thank you.
Councilor Kwasniewski.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't believe it's our job as a city council to overrule decisions made by other boards in this city. I believe that if the rules were in place and this establishment followed those rules, then they should be allowed to open. I also believe that if they do scale back and conform to the rules that we all spent a lot of time debating on the rules and regulations of outdoor dining, if they scale it back and they listen to what the other boards have said is their design, and they're not working outside of their rights to do it, then we can grant it. But until they scale back and do what they were supposed to do, it's not our job to overrule other city departments who are following the rules that we as a council set in our ordinance. So I would vote with Councilor Gerslow to put this committee until Mayor Molina conforms. Thank you.
Further discussion? Councilor Stott.
I would just like to comment on kind of a point of clarification here. The item that is in front of us is to amend the agreement, the approval for outdoor dining. So there is an approval currently for outdoor dining for 380 square feet. What was built is larger than that, 440 square feet. That is the item in front of us, nothing else. And that is what we're asking to move to committee, or the motion on the floor is to move it to committee. I know we've talked about a few other items that are issues, but the item that's in front of us is the square footage. So we are not denying the outdoor dining that we have already approved. That stands, that's approved at the square footage that was approved. And now there's currently a motion to, or a request to extend that because as this conversation has shared that information. But I just wanted a point of clarification that we're not going to be talking about pergolas in committee. We're going to be talking about square feet.
Further discussion? The motion on the floor to send this to the Committee on Community and Economic Development. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from city officials.
We have a report from the planning board relative to establishing a coastal resiliency overlay district, a CROD.
Councilor Morsillo.
Thank you, President. I move that this be received and filed.
Councilor Morsillo moves this be received and filed. Any discussion?
No discussion.
Councilor Morsillo moves to be received and filed. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from city officials.
We have a zoning ordinance relative to establishing a coastal resiliency overlay district, CROD.
Councilor Morsillo.
Thank you, President. I move that this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Morsillo moves to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. Any discussion?
Just briefly, the meeting for all three of these things, the flood hazard overlay and the CROD, both components, is scheduled for next Thursday at 6 o'clock.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from city officials.
We have a report from the planning board relative to the flood overlay district.
Councilor Morsillo.
Thank you, President. I move that this be received and filed.
Councilor Morsillo moves this to be received and filed. Any discussion?
No discussion.
On the motion this be received and filed, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from city officials.
We have a zoning ordinance relative to the flood overlay district.
Councilor Morsillo.
Thank you, President. I move that this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Morsillo moves to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. Any discussion?
No discussion.
On the motion to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Petitions.
We have a request from Historic New England regarding holding their annual Phillips car meet on August 11th, 2024, in the use of Chestnut Street from Flint Street to Cambridge Street to be closed from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President Hepworth. I move that this be granted.
Councilor Varela moves this be granted. Any discussion?
Thank you, Councilor Hepworth. I believe this event happens every year. I may have inadvertently, through the obligation of Barry, Councilor Merkel's husband, to bring their 85 Lincoln, which is in the back of the property, which is, I guess, supposedly debris. So looking forward to this and seeing how it goes. Thank you.
85 Lincoln, otherwise known as the Barbie Mobile, right? Any further discussion? Seeing none, they move this be granted. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have
Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry. We have a request from the Salem YMCA to hold the Salem 10K road race and use the city streets on September 8th, 2024.
Councilor Jerslow.
Thank you, Chair. I move this be granted.
Councilor Jerslow moves to be granted. Any discussion?
The Salem YMCA holds this road race every year. They do a great job. They hire the police details they're supposed to. I think it should be granted.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion to be granted, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have a request from McDonald's located at One Trainers Way to have extended operating hours for both their drive-through service and their delivery service to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Hearing order June 27, 2024. Further petitions.
We have the following block parties and road closures for a request from the Federal Street neighborhood, from Beckford Street Square to the intersection of Federal Street, the Bentley Street neighborhood, and for Bentley Street, request for High Street Playground, and Chestnut Street neighborhood.
Councilor Jerslow.
Thank you, Chair. I move that they be granted. Except one, it'd be the High Street Playground. They're actually not using any streets. They're just going to be in the playground.
So because the High Street Playground is not required to this block party road closure, you request all but that. So any further discussion?
No discussion.
On the motion that is be granted with the exception of the High Street Playground, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have the following license applications for limo taxi cabs, public guides, and taxi operators.
Councilor Morsillo.
Thank you, President. I move that these be granted.
Councilor Morsillo moves to be granted. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have the following license applications for pawnbrokers and seaworms again.
Councilor Morsillo.
Thank you, President. I move that this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs.
Councilor Morsillo moves to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have two claims.
Councilor Morsillo.
Thank you, President. I move that this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs.
Councilor Morsillo moves to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Unfinished business. Say second.
We have second passage of an ordinance amending an ordinance relative to public guides, Chapter 40, Sections 27 to 31.
Councilor Stott.
I move for second and final passage.
Councilor Stott moves for adoption for second and final passage. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further unfinished business.
We have second passage of an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to the fee schedule, Chapter 14, Section 38.
Councilor Stott.
I move for adoption for second passage.
Councilor Stott moves for adoption for second passage. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further unfinished business.
We have second passage of an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to non-criminal disposition of ordinance violations.
Councilor Stott.
I move for adoption for second passage.
Councilor Stott moves for adoption for second passage. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further unfinished business.
We have second passage of an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to Chapter 12, Building Electricity and Plumbing Regulations.
Councilor Morsillo.
Thank you. I move for adoption for second and final passage.
Councilor Morsillo moves for adoption for second and final passage. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further unfinished business.
Second passage of an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to business licenses and fees for the fire department.
Councilor Marcelo.
Thank you. I move for adoption for second and final passage.
Councilor Marcelo moves for adoption for second and final passage. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further unfinished business.
We have second passage of an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to Chapter 12, Building, Electricity, and Plumbing Regulations.
Councilor Marcelo.
Thank you, President. I move for adoption for second and final passage.
Councilor Marcelo moves for adoption for second and final passage. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further unfinished business.
We have second passage of an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to Traffic, Chapter 42, Section 51, Building, Electricity, and Plumbing Regulations.
Councilor Marcelo.
Thank you, President. I move for adoption for second and final passage.
Councilor Marcelo moves for adoption for second and final passage. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries.
Just one. The title actually isn't correct. It's a parking. Is it this one?
Second passage of an ordinance to.
It's not elect. I don't think it makes a difference, but it's.
If we need to redo it, we can redo it.
Yeah, I'll reread it just because it's a typo. Second passage of an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to Traffic, Chapter 42, Section 51.
Thank you. I move for adoption for second and final passage.
Councilor Marcelo moves for adoption for second and final passage. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further unfinished business.
We have tabled from a city council meeting, the matter that was tabled from city council meeting was an order for outdoor dining for Bella Verona Restaurant.
Councilor Jerslow.
Thank you, President Hepworth. I move that this not be adopted.
Councilor Jerslow moves this be denied. Under discussion.
This has been I've done a lot of research on this. It's a Bella Verona restaurant on Essex Street. They did have outdoor dining the last few years, but it actually took up a whole lane of traffic. And I've gotten a lot of complaints from the constituents about how it diverted a lot of traffic off of Essex Street onto Union Street, Orange Street. Union Street, actually, the residents complained so much they actually put temporary speed bumps on Union Street. I've tried to work with the owner of Bella Verona, and we've talked with Dave Pachowski about trying to extend the sidewalk and do the sidewalks over. There's not enough lane of traffic if he extended the sidewalks as it is now to have a lane of traffic and extend the sidewalk. The mayor's actually reached out to the planning department and their on-call engineering firm, Brobeck Engineering, to do a design review of the sidewalk on Essex Street from Hawthorne Boulevard to Herbert Street, hoping the city could redo the sidewalks in front of Bella Verona, bump it out a little, and actually move the lanes of traffic more towards the Hawthorne Hotel and do sidewalks along where the Hawthorne Hotel parking lots are. The city is trying to work with the owner of Bella Verona, but I don't think it's going to be done this summer, this season. He's actually trying to work with the city that if they bumped out, say, a couple feet of the sidewalk, they could put a couple. He usually had 16 tables. He said he would be okay with having 4 tables, but right now they can't bump the sidewalk out. If he put his little structure out, it would still have to be surrounded by concrete barriers, which wouldn't make it a legal lane of traffic. So I've gotten a lot of complaints from constituents about the blocked travel lane. People from Derby Street are complaining that it actually forces a lot of the traffic onto Derby Street. We tried different scenarios, but it's just not working without the city redoing the whole sidewalk and the lanes of traffic. So I don't think it's only open, the restaurant's only open at night from 4 to 10 p.m. and on Sundays only 4 to 9. So I think you're inconvenienced the constituents for a restaurant that's only open a couple hours a day. So I move that it's denied. Until the city can rework the whole design. I give the mayor credit for putting the design review out there, and hopefully with the findings, it can be reworked and make everybody happy.
Further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Jerslow's motion for denial, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 exactly. Let's do roll call vote.
Counselor Cohen.
Yes.
Counselor Davis.
Point of clarity, are we?
Sorry, point of order. The motion is to deny. So a yes is a denial. A no is against that motion.
Just a point of clarification, you also need 3 hands to do a roll call vote.
Okay. Anyone who's in favor? All in favor? Roll call vote. Okay. We all clear on what we're voting for? Yes. Thank you. We'll start with Councilor Cohen again.
That again, Counselor Cohen.
Just clarify what the yes, no is.
A yes means denial.
Yes.
Counselor Davis.
No.
Counselor Harvey.
Yes.
Counselor Jerslow.
Yes.
Counselor Merkel.
Yes.
Counselor Morcillo.
Yes.
Counselor Prosnewski.
No.
Counselor Stott.
Yes.
Counselor Varela.
No.
And Counselor Hapworth.
Yes. On the motion from Bella Verona, which was tabled from the previous meeting, motion to deny, we have 10 councilors voting, 2, 3, 7 in favor, and 3 opposed, and 1 absent. The motion is denied. The matter is denied. Further unfinished business.
We have the reappointment of Eileen Simons as the City of Salem City Clerk with a term expiring June 28th, 2027.
Councilor Prosnewski.
I move that this matter be referred to the Committee of the Whole.
Councilor Prosnewski moves to refer to the Committee of the Whole. Any discussion?
No discussion.
The motion is to refer to the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Councilor Prosnewski.
I move that this meeting be adjourned.
I'm sorry, real quick, sorry. Point of personal privilege, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. Yes, request a moment of personal privilege. I know it's been a long meeting, but I do want to recognize the rainbow crosswalk painting that went on this week. I want to thank, Councilor Davis and Councilor Watson-Felt had assisted in this. And with the additional requests we get for so many crosswalks now, which is terrific, it's a big job. And it's just such an incredible sense of community, unity, and support for our LGBTQ community. And there's lots of requests now come up in the schools. And I wanted to recognize that. It's really a joy to live in Salem where those kind of community events happen, fully supported, so much fun. And again, recognize and all the counselors that participated, and especially Kyle with all the supplies and everything and running around an organization. I want to appreciate that. Thank you.
And I'd also like to, Councilor Davis.
Thank you, President Hapworth. Thank you, Councilor Merkel. It was a great experience. It was a lot, but it was great. Also want to thank Councilor Watson-Felt, all the captains that helped out. Councilors that have trucks were very helpful as well. And all the volunteers and department heads. It's echoing the same thing. It's great to live in a place like Salem that we do this. Thanks.
Councilor Merkel.
And I just want to quickly recognize Councilor Prasnewski, bringing candy, supplying music. I think we had the coolest crosswalk. Thank you.
We didn't get candy at our crosswalk. I don't know what's, yeah, it's not an easy task at all, and I appreciate everything Kyle and our Councilor Davis and Councilor Watson-Felt did here. And also just want to add, Councilor Harvey with the truck, I think was a huge MVP this year. For a lot of the operational issues we had in the past. Just real quickly before we head out here, I do also want to recognize the Assistant City Clerk, Maureen Fisher, for stepping up here in this role. It's not easy to hear something like that at the last minute, but we do appreciate everything she did here tonight.
I'd just like to apologize if we have to redo this because I've screwed up. Just don't hang me, okay? I'm sorry.
Did a great job. Councilor Prasnewski.
A motion to adjourn.
Councilor Prasnewski motions to adjourn. All those in favor? Any opposed? We're adjourned.